it's a work with Jules Lammers from Melbourne and Vincent Pasquier from Saclay about Q deformation of a rather well-known model, Haldane-Shastri model. And we like to call this model the Uglov-Lammers model by the names of the two people who did the most to advance the understanding of the model. So I would like to motivate why we are looking at this model. So, long-range deformations of Heisenberg type models are important for applications in some condensed matter situations, also for ADS-CFT applications, ADS-CFT integrability applications, and also they have a nice mathematical structure. That's also one of my motivation to look at the of these kinds of models. Unfortunately, very few cases are rather well understood. And the techniques we use to study these models are a little bit different from what is usually employed for short-range interacting models. So I would like to see a rather unified framework to look at the two types of model, nearest neighbor and long range. So in the case of the model I will talk about today, there is a nice mathematical structure behind the double affine Hecke algebra, or DAHA, which is behind, and it will be interesting to understand how this can be generalized for other kind of deformations of integrable models. And I'm also interested by the relation with the separation of variables. What are the separated variables for long-range interacting model compared to nearest neighbor? So here I will be interested in the special case of Q-deform Haldane-Shastri model. And it's done via the spin-Ruijsenaars-Schneider or spin-McDonald-Ruijsenaars model and the relationship with McDonald polynomials. So what exactly this model is? So it's you have a particle on a circle, equally spaced spins. SU2 spin 1/2 spins, and they interact via a spin interaction, which relates the spin I and spin J on the chain via an interaction which is a little bit complicated if you want to write it in terms of local spin operators, but it can be the interaction can be visualized in following terms. So you write the R matrix of the XXZ Heisenberg model, which would be so it's a 4x4 matrix of this type with some function of the rapidity variable. There is a deformation parameter Q, which will be denoted Roman Q here.
Sorry,
yes?
extra U is the other typo or something specific?
Which one?
The R matrix in the 2 element has an extra U times E.
Yeah.
Is it on purpose or is it?
Yeah, it's a particular presentation of the matrix, I think. Yeah, so okay, so you have these functions which depend on Q, if you specialize at the point u equals 1, the derivative of the R matrix, it becomes this becomes an antisymmetric Q antisymmetric projector. At u equals at q equals 1, this R check matrix becomes just a permutation. And so the spin interaction, which relates the site I with the site j, corresponds to some transport of the spin j to the site I. Then you have this interaction with the antisymmetric projector, and then you bring back the spin to its site. So you see that there is an order in the interaction of the spins. So that's the spin part, and then the potential. The potential which relates the spin at position zj, which is in fact the jth root of the power j of the nth root of unity, because you can imagine the particles on the unit circle. So the potential which relates interaction, the strength of the interaction which relates different sites is given by this potential, which has two poles. So you can the deformation, that's the deformation of the Haldane-Shastry potential that I will I remind soon. So okay, let's so the Haldane-Shastry Hamiltonian is very similar to that, but just so you see now, I will come back to this to this image here. So when you send Q to 1, I said that this R matrix become a permutation. So this crossing here becomes permutations, and then you have this interaction with the usual symmetrizer, and then you send back the particle to its place. So this becomes just an interaction between Zj and Zi, which doesn't touch the other particles on the way. So in that case, it's just the two-spin interaction, while in the Q-deformed case, it implies all the spins between the two sides. And the potential becomes this double gets this double pole. So if you use the fact that the positions are the roots of unity, the potential is just the sine square of the distance between spins. So the model, this model is very special in the sense that it has a lot of symmetry. The symmetry is given by the Yangian. And the spectrum is particularly simple. It's given in terms of motifs, which are sets of integers. So you imagine integers which go in the range from 0 to n, or n, in this case, sorry, it's just the places you can occupy from 1 to n minus 1, and you have some occupation numbers given by these integers mu1 to mu_m, and there is a selection rule which says that the difference of two consecutive mu's should be at least 2, greater than 1. And you also can encode these integers in terms of partition lambda, or partition being a set of weakly ordered integers. So this will be useful for the following. And the spectrum of the chain is very simple in the sense that it's just given in terms of these integers mu by this kind of formula. So it's the spectrum of this model is what is except for free fermions or free bosons. So that's the simplest thing that you can imagine having integers with some selection rule. So the question is whether these properties survive for the Q-deform Haldane-Shastri, and the answer is yes. Sorry. In fact, it's interesting that there is also a version of sorry, an anti-chiral version of the Hamiltonian, where now you order in the reverse way the sides. So instead of having that, so now this side is on the other side. So you have to do the same thing to transport the spins on using the R matrix on the other side. And interestingly, the two Hamiltonians commute with each other, and they have spectra which are given by this simple dispersion relations, which involve the Q numbers. So if you go from chiral to anti-chiral Hamiltonian, you just have to change Q to Q minus 1 or N to small n to capital N minus small n. So there is a kind of invariance when you change simultaneously, so parity and Q to Q minus 1. And so here you have a image of the representation of the dispersion relations for the chiral, anti-chiral, some of the two Hamiltonians, which looks closer to the original non-deformed Hamiltonian. Then you have the dotted here is the Haldane-Shastri dispersion relation. So now the spectrum is very close. The degeneracy is almost the same as for Haldane-Shastri. Well, in fact, for the non-deformed model, the degeneracy is a little bit bigger because there are some accidental degeneracies when some of the numbers sum to there is some accidental coincidence of levels, but otherwise generically the symmetry is the same. The degeneracy is the same for the two models, and in fact the Yangian symmetry is replaced now by the quantum affine symmetry. So it's interesting to see how this happens. Now about the solution of the model. So most of the things which were useful for the solution of the Haldane-Shastri model are applicable here with some modifications. So the solution of the Haldane-Shastri model is roughly due to this paper by Bernard Godin, Haldane Pasquier from '93. And the idea is that the solution of Haldane-Shastri comes through the study of a more general Hamiltonian, which has particles which are free. The particles are free to move around on the unit circle. So it's in fact this Haldane-Shastri, this Calogero-Sutherland model with spin. Now this is the permutation of two spins. And then when you, there is a coupling constant of this Calogero model, and when you send this coupling constant to infinity, you see that the potential becomes dominant. This spin independent part becomes dominant. So the particles freeze in the local minima of the potential, which are exactly the roots of unity. And so, of course, kinetic term will be subdominant at that point, and what remains is just Pij divided by this, multiplied by this potential, which is now of the frozen particles. So essentially that was the idea of the solution that this reference gave in '93. And the solution of this model was given in terms of degenerate double Fine-Hecke algebra. And also in that paper, in fact, the origin of the Q deformation is essentially in this paper, where they suggested also the definition of the Hamiltonian in the Q-deformed case. But at that time, they did not go further than defining the Hamiltonian. And an important part of the work was done by Uglov in a paper from '95. And also the simplification of the formula, because the objects here look horrible, and in fact it was Jules who simplified all the formula and draw these nice diagrams which visualize better the interaction. So what is this dynamical model with spin? Which I called spin McDonald-Reichenars or spin Reichenars-Schneider model. In this case, we introduce a shift operator, which shifts a variable z by a number p. So the new Hamiltonian has a new parameter p, Roman p. Which appear in the shift, and one defines this McDonald-like operators, which act on the spin also. So you have again this spin interaction given here, and then you have this shift operator in the middle, and then you bring back the particles to their place, and each of these spin interaction is multiplied by some coordinate dependent factor, which is given essentially in terms of these f functions that you have seen in the definition of the R matrix. So this model now, if you take this relation between P and Q parameter, so here this coupling constant of the Calogero model appears, and then if you send Q to 1, then you get the usual Calogero and Haldane-Shastri. So the idea is to use the same techniques. So now I'm sorry, I will change the definition of the parameter. So up to now I used Q for the Q deformation, like in XXZ and Q quantum groups. But now since I will use Daha and McDonald polynomials, there is another notation which is used. So Q becomes T to the power 1/2, and the polynomial the parameter P, Roman P, will be denoted with italic Q to render things complicated, and use the standard notation from McDonald polynomials. So the algebraic structure of the model is based on the Hecke algebra, which is a generalization of the permutation algebra. So the Hecke algebra is defined by these braid relations, which are essentially the same as in the case of permutations. The T operators act on two successive particles. And what changes with respect to the permutation is this Hecke condition. So for permutation, you will have pi minus 1, pi plus 1 is equal to 0. So you can see these two combinations as orthogonal projectors. So this will be the anti-symmetrizer, and this will be the symmetrizer projector. So that's the fundamental relation of Hecke algebra, and this algebra can be realized. You can realize it on spins, but you also can realize it on coordinates. And on coordinates is I will use the index polynomial here, like polynomial. So the generators will be defined in terms of these divided differences, which are here. So divided. So you divide by the difference of the two coordinates, and then you have the action of 1 minus the coordinate permutation. So you can check that this object obeys the rules of the Hecke algebra. And then one introduces some operators, Y, which are mutually commuting, and which obey this affine Hecke algebra relations with the Hecke generators. So there is a relation to pass from Y to the next one, and then T acts trivially on the generators which are far away from it. And also there is some relationship with the action on the coordinates themselves, which is almost, I mean, it's similar. If you would have z minus 1, it will be the same as here. So these objects together realize what is called double affine Hecke algebra.
And whether z is the same as vector?
Yeah. Okay, so the definition, the precise definition of this Y operator is given here in terms of this shift operator, which is in the middle, and then there is something which is some operator which is a combination of Hecke and permutations. So it's not, these objects were defined in this Bernard, Godin, Halden, and Pasquier paper. And also, they were defined more or less in the same time, or maybe a little bit before, by Cherednik, and they are known as Cherednik operators. Yeah, so these objects commute with each other, which is not obvious to see from the definition, and the center of this this algebra is realized by the symmetric combinations of Y operators, which are generated by this object delta of U, which can be expressed in terms of symmetric, elementary symmetric sums. So one can use these elementary symmetric sums as the Hamiltonians of the model. And important thing that which is not written on the slides is that these Y operators are which are acting only on coordinates, are diagonalized by the Macdonald non-symmetric polynomials. So that's and in fact so that's the E1 is the Macdonald Macdonald operator, which is also diagonalized by Macdonald polynomials. So that's just the coordinate part. Now, how the spin enters in the game. So there is a realization of the Hecke algebra also on spins. So essentially, you can take this as a definition of T spin with the R-check matrix that I have shown in the beginning. So T also you can see it from the Q antisymmetrizer that so T spin minus T1/2 is the antisymmetric Q antisymmetrizer that I have shown in the beginning. So this, of course, this matrix here obeys the Yang-Baxter equation, and it's this object is the building block of the XXZ model, because one can build the monodromy matrix of the XXZ model by multiplying different R matrices at different sites. And of course, one can introduce this inhomogeneities in the multiplicative manner. So that's the usual structure of XXZ. So now to define our spin model, we will extend this this XXZ model by introducing this the dynamical coordinates and we'll define a subspace of coordinates and spins on which the Hecke and the polynomial, the Hecke spin generator and the Hecke polynomial generators will act in the same way. So you can say that it's a kind of bosonic space which is symmetric with respect of the permutation of spins and coordinates. A simultaneous permutation of spin and coordinates. And on this, now one takes this Y operators, which I defined earlier depending only on the coordinates, and I act with them on this subspace of the total space. So I get some reduced some action of the. I can translate through this relationship between T spin and T polynomial. I can reduce the action of Y operator on the spin variables. And also there is some algebraic structure behind. One can define a monodromy matrix as for the XXZ model by taking the product of different R matrices at different sites. And now the inhomogeneities are replaced by these Y operators. Since they commute, they can be treated as usual commuting variables. And what is important is that L tilde preserves this bosonic subspace. So one has an action of the L matrix on this physical space, and that's the space of states of the spin McDonald-Reichenars operators. And the elements of the LA matrix, they generate the quantum affine algebra. And the center of this quantum affine algebra is generated by the quantum determinant, which can be defined in this way with respect to the ABCD elements of L matrix. So if in presence of inhomogeneities, this quantum determinant is given by this number. So now if you replace the z's with operators y, so you will have some here and here some combinations of this generator of the center of the Daha. So they will commute with all the elements of the L matrix. So this object here can be used as a definition of the integrals of motion. And in particular, E1 will be E1 tilde will be the Hamiltonian that I have shown you earlier. So that's the explanation of the symmetry of the model, the fact that the quantum affine algebra is a symmetry. So that was the dynamical model. Now we want to get rid of the dynamical coordinates to freeze the particle in place by sending this the parameter this parameter which enters into the shift to 1. So this freezes the particles in the equilibrium position, and in this process, something will happen to the integrals of motion. For example, the Hamiltonian here will become, in the first approximation, it will become the Q number n, and then the linear part in Q minus 1 of this Hamiltonian gives the Q Haldane-Shastry Hamiltonian, so, which was written in this way by Jules in 2018. Okay, so all the other integrals of motion can be obtained by expanding this delta of u in powers of q minus 1. So in particular, the spectrum of the integrals of all the integrals of motion of Haldane-Shastri, which are contained here, can be obtained from expanding the known eigenvalues of the McDonald operators, which are given by this formula here. So one has to expand in Q. So this gives the dispersion relation that I have shown you in the beginning. Yeah, so I'm sorry. So this method can be used to I mean the relationship with the McDonald operators and the degenerate Hecke algebra with the double affine Hecke algebra can be used to also to determine the eigenfunctions. So we take as a basis of the eigenfunction the Magnon basis, which is a basis where m spins are reversed at the position I1 IM. So an eigenfunction for the motif encoded by mu will be given by some coefficient of this which multiplies this spin state. So we are looking at the highest weight vectors of the multiplet. And these vectors can be obtained in the following way. So now we have a very simple expression of these coefficients here. If all the magnons are situated on the sides 1, 2 up to m. So this coefficient here, in fact, will be the some particular function of variable z1, zm evaluated at the position of at the roots of unity in this way. So this the result is that these functions here are nothing else than some values of the McDonald polynomials at some special value of the coefficients q and t, multiplied by q van der Monde times q van der Monde. So q van der Monde for the value of q times q van der Monde at the value of q minus 1. And this polynomial here, this McDonald polynomial is evaluated at the values of f of q and t, which are given by this formula. So one can notice that the relationship between Q and T is that which corresponds to the parameter alpha of McDonald is equal to 1/2. So that property generalizes a similar property for Haldane-Shastri, which at Q equals 1 gives an eigenfunction by some prefactor Zi minus Zj square. So this becomes just a function with a zero at a double zero at all the coinciding points of different values of the coordinates. And then for Haldane-Shastri, normal Haldane-Shastri, this becomes a Jack polynomial with the parameter alpha equal 1/2. So in this, here we just got a special component, the first component, if you want, of this eigenfunction. So one can use the properties of this space of eigenfunctions to get all the other components by transporting all the spins from the position 1 to m to the position I1 to Im, and this can be done by using the combinations of Hecke operators. So in this in the way shown by this figure here. So the fact that the basis of function is symmetric with respect to coordinate and spins allows to transfer the action of the transport of spin to the transport of coordinates. So now the higher the coefficient of the different components of the eigenfunction will be given by the action of this T polynomial on the first component of this symmetric polynomial here. And then one applies the evaluation at the roots of unity. So this result generalizes the construction of the eigenvectors of Haldane-Shastri model. In that case, it's much simpler because the action of this the Hecke operator will be just to permute to replace Z1 by Zi1 and Zm by Zim. But in this case, it's the explicit expressions are much more complicated. So we have also different expression of the the wave functions, which are much more complicated and which we don't have an explicit proof for those expression, but that's something that we would like to understand better. There is some relationship with the XXZ model that we don't understand for the model. So yeah, that's I have not included the proof of this formula here, but the idea is to act with to take a function of this type, to act with the Y operators Y1 to Ym on this type of function. We suppose that this will be obtained from a polynomial of degree of at most n in each of the variables z1, zm, and then show that the action of the y operators on this basis can be transformed in the action of the y operators, which correspond to these values of the McDonald parameters. That's a kind of a technical result because we see that we can do it, but we don't have an explanation why when you take this freezing limit, you expect to get. So you start with a polynomial. Sorry, a polynomial which is which has n variables. And when you are doing this freezing, you recover a polynomial with m variables and with different values of the parameters. So that's still a mystery why this exact value of the parameters appear. And that's part of the work we are trying to do in progress to obtain this type of the values of these parameters of these eigenfunctions by taking the eigenvalues of the dynamic directly taking the values of the non-symmetric McDonald polynomial, taking the freezing limit, small q goes to one limit, and recover from there this kind of wave function. So that's not obvious at all, and hopefully this will also allow not only to get, because here we only have the highest weight vectors that we can obtain in this way. But we hope to be able to obtain also the descendants. So in principle, the descendants will be obtained by acting on these eigenvectors, either with spin lowering operators or with the generators of the affine algebra. So the other, so there are two types of lowering operators in the affine algebra. So there are affine descendants and spin descendants that, in principle, are generated from this highest weight. So the explicit expression of this of the descendants are not known. It's easier to get them for the spin operators. We have some idea how to what is their form. For the affine descendants, it's a little bit more complicated. So yeah, that's part of the work in progress. Also, there is an interesting limit where the Hamiltonian simplifies, which is the crystal limit when the parameter q goes to infinity. So that's this allows to obtain particularly simple expressions for the wave functions in that crystal limit, and also it's useful to prove some of the properties of the spectrum, the fact that the limit, if you want, the limit of the McDonald polynomials that it exists, that they survive to the freezing limit, because since we know that they survive in the crystal limits, they will survive for the other values of the parameter q. So one way to, so I was talking about the other vectors in the multiplet. there is a construction of the of the descendants using the Gelfand-Zeitlin construction. So it will be interesting to understand the relationship between this Gelfand-Zeitlin construction and the usual Bethe-Ansatz construction. So here we have monodromy matrix, so we have some B operators, so it will be interesting. But unfortunately, the B operators commute with the Hamiltonian, so we cannot do the usual Bethe construction as in the XXX model or XXZ model. And the question is what survives from the Bethe-Ansatz procedure in this particular case. Other problems that we are looking at is the fermionic. So I was talking about the bosonic space where the wave functions are symmetric with respect to the permutation, simultaneous permutation of spins and coordinates. But there is also a version where the eigenfunctions are Q-symmetric, and this fermionic version is much more useful to prove some properties and of the especially this freezing limit. Also, it's useful to take the CFT limit and to prove the relationship with vertex operators and so on. So these are also things that we are looking at presently. And of course, it's interesting to understand there are other models which are interpolating between. So now, in what concerns the non-Q deformed, the Q equals 1 version. So there is a model which interpolates between XXX and Halny-Shastry. It's the Inozemtsev model, and there the symmetry is not so big as in Halny-Shastry, but it's still a long-range model. So some of the problems of the long-range model can be studied in that. Yeah, so you have the potential between the spins is not 1 over sine square, but it's a Weierstrass function. Yeah. Yeah. So Jules and his collaborator Rob Klabers have some new results to announce soon. And yeah, then you have plenty. You can imagine plenty of deformations if you take the approach of Beizert and collaborators to start to slowly deform the model from XXX to reach some other. So you can imagine plenty of types of deformation. They have a problem with periodic boundary conditions, so that's some particular story. So that the question is what is the algebraic formalism which is behind? What is the equivalent of the Daha or whatever other symmetry is behind Inozemtsev? So yeah, that's a little bit what I wanted to say about this model. So thank you.
Questions? About the interest at long range and I was looking at this.
Yeah. Samuel wants to ask a question.
How to be a bit more precise when you say that there's Youngian symmetry? What you mean exactly by Youngian symmetry? It's Youngian of SL2?
Yeah, SL2. In fact, the model can be also defined for SLN, and if it's SLN, it's the Youngian of SLN.
But there is a very specific representation, of course. They can be explicitly written, and for the two case, it's a rather simple thing. You sum over, it looks like the Hamiltonian, you sum over the, say, for the XXX model is, I think, if I remember correctly, the cotangent of the distance,
And then
and the cross product of
yeah.
the spins at psi I and j. That is the
Yeah.
representation. This cross product has x, y, z components, and then give you this, the second level generators at the end. Sorry.
Yeah. I tried not to write too horrible formula on the slides. Also, there is some equivalent of for Q Haldane-Shastri. There are some affine generators which commute that you can get from ABCD operators. By expanding, so you have these operators which commute, of course, with the integrals of motion because the integrals of motion are generated by the quantum determinant. So those commute with everything.
So what's the CFT you expect in the large size?
So for SU2, it's the Kac-Moody level 1, and in this case, there will be some deformation. So so there will be some Q boson field. And from this Q boson, you can define. I don't know if it's really a CFT. There will be a deformation of a CFT, but the Q, the vertex operators that will appear are known. But we would like to understand how these operators generate the space of states and so on. So. In fact, you get, when you go to the CFT limit of Haldane-Shastri, you are looking just at one of the, so the dispersion relation is a parabola, and you look at one side of the parabola, so you have some linear dispersion relation, and so on. And this will also survive in the Q deformed case. But yeah, I don't know, for example, what replaces the Q, the Virasoro generator. It should be known, but well, it's not a very difficult question, but just it has to be known.
There was one more question.
So you mentioned a case where homogenizing is promoted to operation.
Yes.
Do you know any other models where that happens?
No, except the Calogero model. No, I don't know. It was a kind of new surprising way to define a model, and of course, because of the ADS-CFT story, I was very interested to see what happens with these Dunkal operators. So the Y operators in the limit Q goes to 1 become the Dunkal operators, and well, what becomes of these Dunkal operators if you try to deform differently the model? So of course you know that there were all these efforts to deform the spin, to look at the ADS-CFT spin chains as deformations of x66. So we were able to obtain some results, but since so what we used was Inozemtsev model, which is in the infinite limit, which is a kind of continuation of one can exploit the results from Haldane-Shastri and analytically continue in the length if you want. But there are problems with periodic boundary conditions. So part of the results were, are approximate. But for ADS-CFT, we knew how to deal with the wrapping correction with the periodic boundary conditions. So yeah, but I think the long range spin chains deserve more attention. So
That's a good last word. I think.
yeah, thank you.